The revolt against the TSA radiation scanners, the pat-downs, the hands in the pants, actually touching the genitals, that's now confirmed all over national news. We had listeners talking about it, last week, and people couldn't believe it. Now they're going inside the pants. It's always more. The revolt is going into full swing. Ron Paul is introducing federal legislation in Congress next Monday. He made the announcement today. He's coming on the show as well next week to talk about it, that he's going to try to get rid of the, quote, federal exemption and make this illegal so that they're not above the law. The next 15 minutes or so, Steve Wagstaffe, who is the chief deputy DA. He's now the DA-elect going into office early next year. Of course, he's in San Mateo County that borders the San Francisco Bay Area and some of the busiest airports in the country. And he has said, quote, they are not above the law. Break it down. I mean, what's your concern here? Your statements made national attention. Other DAs are starting to chime in. State police are saying they believe what's happening is illegal. How do we ever get here?
Well, the big difficulty is that, if you give a certain amount of authority to an organization to try and keep us safe, that's the original intent of the legislation. When it gets taken further than what the intent is and what is necessary, well, then you get exactly what you just talked about. You get people all over the country saying, wait a second, that's gone way beyond the line, that's way too far, and we're not going to take that. And that's sort of what we're encountering these days, I think. And here in our county, in San Mateo County, which is where the San Francisco airport is located, we've made it very clear that if anybody does these type of actions and touching, where they're doing it with what we call a lewd or sexual intent, we will prosecute them the same as we would any other citizen or any other, as I've said, if a police officer in our county or any other county does something like that, where they've gone beyond what's necessary for the job, well, that can be a crime, and we're not going to simply say you get special treatment because of a position you're in.
I personally was out in California, sir, just 3 weeks ago, at the San Jose airport, and all I watched for 20 minutes was women and children sent through the scanners, no men, and I did watch babies with men and women putting their hands between their legs, and I watched men doing it to women. I mean, this is unprecedented.
That is unprecedented, and that's stunning. Standard rule for police officers throughout the nation is you don't do cross-gender type of touching in that area. You stay certainly within the gender at a minimum when it's called for, when it's necessary. You're right. When you decide to take it a different direction and say, we don't care about cross-gender, we'll have men touching women in private parts, well, I think most people do feel, you know what, that's gone way beyond the authority that's needed. We can still keep our airport safe without needing to go to that direction.
Well, I live in Texas, but I've also seen the federal code. I've looked up the California laws, and it's pretty much the same all across the country. Unless it's an emergency situation, a police officer can't touch your crotch, even through the clothes. And if they have to, because it's an arrest situation, they call the same gender because, statistically and psychologically, on average, that's less traumatic. But now we have confirmed reports in front of witnesses in Amarillo, Texas, of pulling the woman's blouse down with her breast exposed, running their hands through her hair, men coming over and saying to TSA, hey, honey, after she went through the gate, I can't wait to go look at the video of that. I mean, this is something that's gotten way out of control. And the fact that TSA has tried to brazenly just say, let them eat cake and ignore the public sentiment, I don't think I've ever seen such a grassroots revolt.
If what you just described for me, of pulling a woman's blouse down, touching her breast in that fashion, hands through the hair, that case came into our office, that person would be in our courts and being called a defendant. That you can't do that. That's clearly being done for a lewd and lascivious purpose. That's unacceptable in every state and in our federal government throughout this country. It's not acceptable. We, a number of years ago, prosecuted a police officer because he stopped a car with two young women in it, and he then saying he was just doing a pat-down, he fondled their breast. We prosecuted it, convicted him for it, punished him, and he lost his job as an officer. There is nothing anywhere that says TSA has a different standard. They have the same standard that we impose on our officers, on our dentists, our doctors, everybody who has reason reason to touch somebody in any profession. If they go beyond what is a reasonable, acceptable line, well, that can be, at a minimum, a civil issue and potentially a criminal issue that we deal with.
The San Francisco airport, I know it's one of the busiest airports in the nation, and I've seen polls in Reuters of up to 96% are against this. And so I would imagine that you probably are going to get some complaints.
I think we may see some complaints. On the other side of it, what we're hoping does not occur is that people become so angry that they engage in conduct, in other words, they get angry and they punch one of the TSA people. That could then get referred to us to decide, hey, if they've committed a battery against a TSA person, as to that. We don't want that to happen.
It was just a case of a individual in Indiana who is handicapped. He has a colostomy bag, and the report is that he was being made fun of in the scanners, and he got mad and punched the guy in the chest, and he's been arrested. But, I mean, that's kind of like coming in and finding your wife with another man. Doesn't it start, I mean, I'm not saying people should do it with any forethought, but isn't it, going to be a crime of passion if someone grabs a man's genitals, or someone grabs a man's wife's genitals and the man gets mad? I mean...
Yes, Alice, that's a case that we know as a prosecutor's office. We never would condone it. We don't want people doing it, but we know that no jury in our county is going to convict somebody for that for the very reasons you just mentioned. They're going to understand what's going on, but we don't want people doing it because we don't want them to have to go through that double hassle. It's tough enough dealing with getting through security. We don't want them to have to suddenly find themselves handcuffed on the ground, being taken into court for us to have to judge whether we can do it. But your assessment of it is accurate.
Well, I mean, you're a lawyer, you're the DA there in your county. I mean, you're the guy to ask this question. Ron Paul is saying that the TSA is claiming that they have immunity and that he wants to pass a law saying they don't. But with my lay understanding of federal, state, and common law, you only have immunity when you're executing the office properly. But when these federal security guards who aren't even trained in law enforcement or law, like not 1/10 the training that a greenhorn rookie cop has, when they start operating outside of common law, state law, federal law, they don't have the immunity.
Yes. 100% correct. We have conveyed the message to the TSA here at San Francisco Airport that, hey, we know you have to do your job, and we want you to do your job and do it the right way to keep us safe. But on the other side of it, if any of your TSA employees take it beyond what is necessary, takes it to where they are fondling a woman's breast, touching a man's buttocks with no purpose, no reason, valid reason, they're just going beyond the duty, there's no protection. They're going to be in state court here, and there's no claim of immunity that'll protect them against that. It's with everything. Anytime we give, as a government, we give power to an agency. Hey, I've given power. The people of San Mateo County have given me the power to prosecute people. It's an enormous responsibility and power. One has to exercise it properly, reasonably, and with an understanding of the role. Not with arrogance, not with a power-hungry, I'm now suddenly the boss. When one does that, one exceeds their authority, and you have to change it. And that's what I think is everybody's concern here is, again, very well-meaning people, certainly of the 67,000 TSA employees at the various airports, probably the vast bulk want to do it the right way, but there's been created this image that, no, we have a power above everybody else. We get to do whatever we want. And that's just wrong. They are simply public servants, and they have to serve the public just as I do as prosecutor for this county. And that's what bothers me is that I'm seeing certain exhibits of arrogance. And instead of dealing with it, their leaders, instead of saying, we're not going to have this, we're going to correct this, we're going to do better training, we're going to try and get it to where we get better people doing it. Instead, we get this other sort of view that, no, wait, we've got the power, we've got the immunity, we'll do whatever we want. That's not a good situation. And I think that's why we're seeing exactly the reaction nationwide that we have.
Well, absolutely. And at the same time, the TSA now has Viper teams they want to put on the streets of the country, and they're already beta testing them, and they're saying they've bought mobile trucks. And, I mean, I won't fly with my family because of this. Next, I'm going to have to face it on the street. Isn't that a jurisdictional issue with the counties and cities and states to now have people that aren't even sworn officers of the federal government, but just a federal security goon force just running around? I mean, this sounds like a federalism issue.
If that sort of a thing was occurring in our county, I would sure be very quickly on the phone to the head of TSA and Homeland Security to say, hey, just what is the authority for this? Just how do you think you can do that here in our county? Because we've got a responsibility to our citizens, and if that were to come into existence, what you describe, obviously that would be a major cause of concern as to what that's all about.
Well, sir, I just have a few final comments. We appreciate Steve Wagstaffe, the San Mateo County incoming DA, and we appreciate your courage in doing this. I know you will say you're just doing your job, and you are, but it takes, as George Orwell said, in a time of universal deceit, telling the truth's a revolutionary act. You say you've told the TSA this. Have you told them publicly or in a letter? We know you've told them publicly.
We went through our sheriff's office, who they work with in the sheriff's office. I had a long discussion with them yesterday, and the sheriff's office then met with the TSA people and said, listen, here's what the rules are for San Mateo County.
What did the TSA say? Did they show the same we're God arrogance?
No. What I understand is that they said, no, we understand, we know the rules, and we're going to try and work within them, is what we were told. We will, words are cheap. We'll see what the actions are.
Sir, specifically quantifying it with California law, I know it's similar to the rest of the nation, you said sticking the hands in the pants, because now they're going deep into the pants. This is confirmed, and actually, the Democrats are calling it love pats, which I think is political suicide. But I've interviewed people on air. It's been confirmed by journalists that it's happened to, that they go in the pants and go in the crack of the buttocks. Then they go in the front and actually pat twice with pressure to make sure, because I guess they're trained to know what a woman feels like or what a man. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, this is.
Yeah, it is. That's that type of a thing. I sure hope that those are aberrational and not the story, because those are the type of things that can lead to problems for their agents.
So specifically, what's a felony? What's a misdemeanor?
Felony is any time that you have skin-to-skin touching of the privates of another person. Doesn't matter whether it's cross-gender or regular gender, and it's being done for with what we call a lewd intent under California law. It's being done with for a sexual purpose. If that occurs, if it's through the clothing, it's a misdemeanor. If it's skin-to-skin, it's a felony. It's called sexual battery in the state of California, and if that occurs, that's a crime, and we prosecute them.
You're the first DA to come out yesterday and put this on the record and have the sheriff's department go inform them of the law and that they're not above the law, as you said in that TV newscast. I'm seeing a few other DAs now say they're looking at it. What do you want to say to other prosecutors, other lawmen and women, other people that are charged in the courts with upholding justice? I mean, for me, there's no question here you're doing the right thing. Shouldn't we see an army of district attorneys and county attorneys, come out and say we're going to enforce the law?
I think you will. Santa Clara County, which is San Jose, California, the one right below us, they have come out. They came out yesterday and said, yes, we agree completely with San Mateo County. And my belief is, I don't think this is a complicated process. I think every prosecutor, after they look at it, will agree this is what the law is. And certainly in California, I'm sure all 58 district attorneys will have the same view. There isn't a logical basis for any other view on it.
I was in San Jose. I witnessed things that if I went up in a park and did it, I'd probably serve 5 years in prison and be a sexual predator. I was there watching them go between the legs, go down behind the pants. I was witnessing it. And I know that police don't have to have a complaint that crack cocaine's being sold down the street. If a cop drives by and sees it, he has to respond. Can't you just send your detectives from the county into the airport, and if they see a crime being committed, you give them the guidelines off the law, and then go ahead and slap the handcuffs on them?
That can be done, exactly. That can be, any one of our law enforcement agencies do have that power to do so, exactly as you say, Alex.
Well, we know that's going on, so are you going to not just warn them? I mean, I know you've given them fair warning. Are you going to...
We've told the sheriff's office, who goes through our airport, along with San Francisco PD, exactly where we are, what the rules are, and what their authority is. Absolutely.
Oh, so you are now investigating in the airport?
Well, I'd say we've given the guidelines and the admonition to the sheriff's office, who's given it to TSA, and the sheriff's office for San Mateo County is the ones vested with the, as you say, the police authority. If they bring us a case, I've told them, you bring us the case, because here in the DA's office, we don't have the Investigators Bureau to do that. But our sheriff's office said, you bring us the case, here are the guidelines. If they do it, we'll prosecute it.
Well, it was Benjamin Franklin that said those that will give up liberty for security will get neither. And we're going to get tyranny. And thank God there's people like you, the first to stand up and say the emperor has no clothes. I see this ending with this federal takeover failing.
It might, and that's what we're all going to watch. I do have to run. Hey, thank you so much for your time today, and best of luck.
Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.